Hello, welcome to WayTooBroad.com.
Of the Jolly Rancher.
Can we make that play when you open the website?
This might surprise you to hear, but that is like definitely never do in web standards these days.
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Shocked to hear that.
Yeah.
You mean people don't want to just like
I thought it would be an always
unexpected
do.
noise in their ears?
It's a never do.
Wow.
Well, someone should fucking tell Netflix that. Hello and welcome to Way Too Broad, a place for friends to talk about things they're really, really ridiculously excited about. I'm Hannah, and these are my co-hosts, Erin and Ben. Hi, Erin, and your new audio setup.
Hey, Hannah, and your old audio setup.
Oh, get fucked, Hannah.
Hi, Ben.
Hannah is the oldest audio setup on the pod.
Yeah. How's that feel?
Feels good. I feel like a trendsetter because now we all have Blue Yetis, and I was the first one to have one.
I think we all have identical setups. Hi, Ben, with your identical setup, but that I can't see.
Hello, Hannah and Erin.
You have a
Ben's
different.
is not identical.
You have a
because-
different pop filter, right?
Yeah.
Also, my microphone is silver, not blue.
We
And
all
I have a different blue.
color.
Yeah,
we
all
all
have
have different color
colors.
mics.
Yeah.
Oh, they
we
look
all
the
have
same
different
on
color
here.
mics.
What'd you say, Ben?
Your blues look the same from where I'm sitting.
No,
Well, they're not.
I have teal, you frick.
I'm not saying I don't believe you. I'm just saying the cameras aren't doing it justice.
Oh, thank you.
Mine is like...
I believe you.
Hey, Ben.
Mine is like a darker, like a more like my shirt, navy type blue.
I actually can kind of see that now that you mention it.
Your shoe looks black. Your shirt looks black.
Oh, I forgot to light the podcast cam.
Oh, we have to
fuck.
start over.
So, oh no. I don't have a light.
Come on.
Como sitting at the window, watching the
on.
darkness.
Come on.
Isn't that what we're all doing, really?
Oh, yeah.
Hold on a minute. Okay, let's see. Erin. No, Ben. Ben, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking water and I have another drink.
Oh, what's your other drink?
It's a Guinness Nitro IPA.
Oh. We lost me there at the end, but that's
No,
exciting.
I don't normally like IPAs, but it's a Nitro IPA, which, have you had like a Nitro beer before, a Nitro drink?
Mm-hmm.
You know how it's like almost a little sweeter and it's got like a frothiness to it?
Mm-hmm.
It like, you get like the hoppiness of an IPA, which I do like without all of the bitterness and the aftertaste.
Oh.
It like really makes the aftertaste like clean and really nice. It's really, really good. I highly recommend it.
Okay. I probably still won't like it because I really, really hate the bitterness. Like, I'm very sensitive
Yeah.
to it. But I would try it because Molly would drink it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what it is? You know what I have to say about Nitro? is that I think in beer it's fine, but I've tried Nitro coffee like way too many times that like I don't like it.
I like
but
Nitro
I keep
coffee.
on seeing it on menus and being like, I bet I'll like that, and then ordering it. And I never like it.
I think it's fine. It just tastes like slightly sweeter coffee to me.
To me it tastes too it doesn't taste enough like coffee to me.
Yeah, I get
Erin,
I get
are
that.
you raising your hand, Erin?
I'm raising my hand. I have a question.
Okay, what is it?
Hannah, do you like iced coffee?
I love iced coffee.
Okay. I hate iced coffee, and I hate nitro iced coffee also. So I was wondering if it was maybe that you hated iced coffee.
No, I love it. Iced coffee is my strong preference for coffee.
I like iced espresso, but I hate iced coffee.
What? You're weird. Wait, like
They
just
taste
like
different.
like iced lattes or like
Yeah,
just
I love iced
espresso?
lattes. Or iced espresso.
What?
Listen,
Oh, that's
because no. Iced espresso is a freshly pulled shot of espresso over ice. Iced coffee
Yeah, I know
is
what an
coffee
iced
brewed
espresso is.
in a completely different way and it tastes stale to me. It tastes like stale coffee because it's coffee that's been like sitting out all freaking night.
What do you think about cold brew coffee? Why do you hate it?
Cold brew because it tastes like stale coffee.
No, it doesn't. The reason iced coffee tastes like stale coffee is because it kind of is, because you have to brew it hot and then let it cool, like you said, overnight. But cold brew coffee is brewed like that. It was never hot.
I just don't like it. It's syrupy to me. I am not pissing on it. Like I think it's. Love that it exists.
You should water it down, but not. No.
Maybe that's why.
That's not the way I usually do
pissing on it. That's how you should be drinking it.
I'm not trying to raise any haunches here. I was like, oh, you don't like nitro coffee, me neither, but that's because I don't like iced coffee. So
I see.
I was trying to make a connection and not like create a divide.
Ain't life strange that way?
I don't really like most coffee.
Well, Ian just texted me and wanted me to make sure you guys know that cold brew coffee is also lower acid, so it's less bitter.
I like full acid. I have a related story about
acid.
Ben.
I just drink acid.
That's my preference, is iced acid. I was at lunch the other day, and it was
that other day.
I don't know why that's funny.
I was at lunch that other day, and it was a hot summer's day here in sunny South, and I ordered a Guinness because it was $4. So I was like looking through the beer menu because it was Friday and we were all getting beers, and so look through the beer menu.
Down.
Huh?
On Friday, you gotta get down.
Gotta get down. Or just have a low gravity beer at lunch, either one. And I was between a few things, but then it was like Guinness was on special for $4, and totally, I was like, decision made. So I ordered a Guinness, enjoy it. The waitress couldn't get over the fact that I was drinking such a dark beer on a hot day. She it wasn't like she remarked upon it. She dwelled on it for a full 5 minutes at our table.
After she delivered it?
After I had
why?
Drank it.
I don't get that.
I don't know. I'm like, well, it was $4.
It's a cold. It's also it's a cold beer, right?
It's a cold beer, and I'm inside in the air conditioning.
In the air conditioning.
I don't know what her deal was. I don't know. She was lingering
for
a long time.
You should have asked her.
Yeah, I should have. And then she was like,
what her deal was?
Yeah, what her deal was.
I was like, can I have my check? She was raving about this other beer that I've had before, and I'm like, oh, I don't like that because it's bitter, it's hoppy. She's like, it's really not that bad. I'm gonna bring you a sample. So she was basically trying to pour a beer down my throat.
But not dark beer on a hot day.
Not dark beer. But that reminds me too, because Guinness is also that was a nitro Guinness. So it's just, there's nothing like it. It's creamy. And,
yeah, I love nitro beer.
Let's love it on a hot day.
You're like a cold beer on a hot day. Cold Guinness on a hot day.
Dark beer on a hot day.
I don't know what I had. I don't know what happened
anyone else
to me.
is drinking
I broke.
yet?
Huh?
Have we gotten to what anyone else is drinking yet?
No.
I've been stuck on nitro.
Nothing else matters. You have a beer today.
I'm next. I'm drinking a special beer.
What you drinking?
I'm drinking something.
Are you saying my beer wasn't special? I'm
drinking something called Chai Yeti.
Ugh. Chai beer?
Wow. Ooh,
yeah,
it looks good.
It's not very intense. I picked it, though, because it's blue. So it's a blue Yeti beer.
What? Did you do that in honor of my new microphone?
I did.
Hey.
And because now we're a full Blue Yeti podcast. I don't know. It was
That's
Ian's
right.
idea.
Sponsored by Blue Yeti.
Sponsored by Ian. It's his idea and he bought it.
Aw, that was sweet.
Yeah, he's nice. So it's strong, though. It's 8% ABV.
That's a big old boy.
It's a big old boy.
What time do you have to be up tomorrow?
Doesn't matter.
Gotta get down on a Wednesday night.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a regular Wednesday episode. A little teensy bit late Wednesday episode, but not too bad. Erin,
care.
what are you drinking?
I have a mixed beverage with dark pineapple rum, a little bit of sweet coconut rum, and a splash of pineapple mango juice with some maraschino cherries and some seltzer. It's not very good. Look, I need to take a cocktail class because all of these ingredients are like pointing towards delicious cocktail, but I'm just like, I don't have the like, you know how when you're cooking and you like learn a few tips of like, if you feel like it's missing something, add a little brightness with some lemon or some, you know, just like you have to like learn some tips. I just feel like I need to learn some cocktail tips. Because I feel like I've got the spirit is willing, but the training is poor.
You know what that reminds me of is after watching the Great British Bake Off, do you remember how many times like someone makes something chocolate and Paul or Mary, mostly Paul, would say like, you need like a sharp flavor to cut through this.
Yeah.
And like that made me appreciate, because I'd always liked like raspberry and chocolate together. And that like really made me appreciate why I did and like pay attention to that more and like really like those like sharper, tartar flavors with chocolate because it like takes away from the richness a little bit and just like almost allows you to enjoy the chocolate more.
Yeah.
I just love that shit.
It's like you need to learn those things of like learn your taste.
Yeah,
of, like,
even if you already
can tell
like
something's not right.
Yes, exactly.
But you need to learn how to know what to add or what to you know, not to subtract. I guess you're kind of too late. But
I don't like fruit with my chocolate at all.
You're dumb.
You are dumb.
Except, like,
Glad we agreed
strawberries
on
dipped in chocolate. That's the only one.
That's
So
just
recap. Oh, sorry.
fruit with chocolate. What? I don't like it except one of the most popular ones. Or most common combinations. Fuck.
The classic example. I don't like it. Do you not like raspberries? I want to help you debunk this.
I don't love raspberries.
I think we've solved it.
But there's no other, like, you know, they did, like, chocolate with passion fruit and stuff.
I don't like passion
Yeah,
fruit.
I don't either.
Like, no thank you.
It's too tart.
Yeah, it's
I
too
think it's
passionate.
Okay,
too
so
passionate.
recap. At our dinner party, serve Hannah chocolate cake, sans raspberry with an iced coffee. Serve me chocolate raspberry cake with a hot coffee, and serve Ben chocolate raspberry with an iced coffee.
Yes.
Or no coffee.
Or no
water.
coffee.
Water. Give me water.
Still.
Or a
Nice.
nitro beer.
Although sweet stuff does make me really thirsty, so you should also serve me a water.
I will be more likely to not eat a sweet thing without a cup of coffee, hot coffee with it. Like, I would just rather not. That's a fact.
Wow.
Like a piece of cake? Fuck that cake without a cup of coffee. That's how I feel about that.
Wow.
Fuck it.
That's a fact.
Seems Pavlovian. That's actually not a bad trick.
I feel like most of my eating habits are Pavlovian. I don't know.
Yeah. Same.
You know, guys, I have an important announcement.
Please announce it.
Okay, I decided while you were talking about Great British Bake Off that I'm going to call it GeeBeeBeeBeeBo from now on.
Oh, that's great.
GeeBeeBeeBo.
I'm in on that. Yeah, I'm absolutely in on that. Sign me up.
I did see a little preview for GeeBeeBeeBo, and I got excited about it. And my parents have been watching a like old cast new season of GeeBeeBeeBo that apparently was like an older one for Britain.
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 I was starting to say that word wrong, and then felt like I recovered enough to keep going. But GeeBeeBeeBo previously unreleased in the States, so.
Oh, cool. All right, let's see. I have something I want to talk about before we get going. I have an upfront
thing also.
Okay. You go first.
Okay, mine's something that I did today that I thought was hilarious, and I want to know if you guys also think it's hilarious. Because it might not be. Okay. So, I don't know if I mentioned on pod yet, but I'm working at a restaurant this summer, and when I was going to take my break, I was putting in an order for food, and you can, like, add a, like, special requests if, like, someone just, like, wants to take something off or whatever. And I decided, because the guy who was working, like, cooking today, I, like, know, and we're buds, and so I put as a special request, good. And he came out and was like, what the fuck is this? And I was like, make it good.
Did he do it?
Yeah, it was delicious. It was avocado toast.
Oh, man. That poor soul's not going to afford a house.
That is the end of my story.
That story was like that request.
Okay. My thing was the housekeeping thing, but I have a story I want to tell you guys and see if you think the thing I did was funny.
This should be a new segment. Was this funny?
Was this funny? Okay.
I love that.
So you have to know a little bit about the layout of my house. We've got a living room.
Too much setup. Already not funny.
Just know this. Between the living room and the bathroom, the entire path is visible. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see. So Ian and I were in the living room on the couch, and I was getting up to go to the bathroom. And I got like halfway there, and I was like, I just like lost my balance for a second, almost ran into this bookcase. And
do you fall a lot? I fall a lot.
Yeah, I think I do fall a lot. Sometimes I'm just like turning and I'll be like, whoa.
Yeah, same.
I have a question. Maybe it's because you don't like to be upright.
I just hate standing.
Is that
I want to get on the ground as fast as possible.
I was supposed to be calling back to the other times I had it.
Yeah, I got it.
Obvious.
I liked it.
But, yeah.
Okay, so I was like on my way there, and I kind of just like tipped, and I had already started pulling my pants down because it's like my own house. Okay,
yeah, absolutely no judgment.
I just decided. So as I caught my balance, I just ended up like standing there with my pants just like halfway down, and facing away from the couch where Ian was sitting, and I just decided to stand there and see how long it would take for him to notice me. And it took forever. He was like looking at his phone. And so I kept on like, I didn't know if it would be weirder if I was like standing there staring at the bookcase laughing at my own like trick mooning of my husband, or if I was like turning around looking at him when he looked and saw me finally. But he was like researching something on his phone, so I had to like be like, what are you doing? To get him to look up.
I like that. That was funny.
Funny?
That was funny.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good job.
Good.
Also, fun up. Two funds up.
2 funds up. One for Ben and one for me. Erin, do you have any upfront stuff?
I always feel like I do, but I guess not.
I have another thing.
What is that?
It's just something cool. Have you heard about LeBron James's I Promise school?
Fuck yeah.
So cool. He worked with Ohio Public Schools and the city of Akron to open a public school that has all of these like services. You ready? Free tuition, obviously, because it's public. Free uniforms. Free transportation within 2 miles. Free breakfast, lunch, and snacks. Guaranteed college tuition for every student who graduates.
Wow.
Food pantry for families. GEDs and job placement services for parents, and a free bicycle and helmet. And it's specifically for like underprivileged children in Akron, where he is from, and grew up missing a lot of school because the school system wasn't great and his mom was poor. for underage children.
So all children.
It's specifically for children.
All outer children. Okay, one more thing. It's sort of more of a housekeeping thing. I'll mention it again at the end, but I want our listeners to start thinking about it. We're thinking about, for episode 50, which is in 3 weeks now, no counting on fingers, okay? We were talking about, like, you know, picking favorites, things that we've all talked about, but we also thought it'd be really cool to hear from listeners. So if you have like a favorite topic that we've done, if you have a favorite like joke that you always think about, or just a favorite like sidetrack that we went on, or a favorite moment of any kind, like, you send us an email, like, just like get in touch and let us know about it, and we'll like read it on the show. It's probably going to end up being like a 2-part special of some kind, because episode 50, as Erin pointed out earlier today, is the week before our 1-year anniversary episode of Way Too Broad.
Woo!
Way Too Broad.
So send us stuff.
So we should have like a birthday party.
Yeah. Send us presents of fun stories for our birthday.
For our birthday. We'll throw us a bright birthday party. We'll have cake with raspberry.
No.
Or strawberry.
Raspberry. Yeah.
That's an exciting time for us as a baby pod.
It is. I was listening back to some of our earlier episodes today. And
Me too. I was listening to 3.
They're fun.
They're fun.
I think we're fun.
We're totally two thumbs up.
Yeah. Okay, so is it time? It's time.
Is it
I'm
time?
not asking. I'm telling.
It's time. I also thought it was funny. The first like 3 episodes or 2 episodes, we just like, hello and welcome to Way Too Broad. First obsession. Like we was like, no. Now we just talk for half an hour and then we're like, all right, we should do the show.
I know. I remember you having to be like, I think we should talk a little. But anyway, now we do that.
Now we do that.
Ben's first.
Oh, Ben's first.
Is someone beatboxing?
It's me.
Oh,
that's not my obsession. So my obsession is Rhea Butcher's baseball podcast, 3 Swings.
Wow.
3 Swings, the one we mentioned last week that I had been meaning to listen to and hadn't. I started listening to it. I'm on the 3rd episode, and like it, they do it week by week, and they started before the baseball season actually started. So it's funny to kind of like hear them speculate on trades and stuff that I already know the result of. One of them especially being whether or not JD Martinez is going to end up on the Red Sox. And now he's been on the Red Sox and he's been doing amazing well. It's been like a great pickup for us. But one of the things I really, really like about it is, number one, Rhea Butcher knows a lot about baseball. It's like a huge baseball fan, knows a lot about like the history of baseball and women in baseball especially, which is why I sent you guys that interesting article about the time that a 17-year-old female pitcher struck out Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig in the same game, like back-to-back, which is insane.
That's insane.
And
pretty amazing.
Hurt their pride so much that it might have been one of the reasons why several years later women were officially banned from Major League Baseball, and that ban was not lifted until the 90s. And even though it has been lifted, but they're like, but
the damage is done.
Yeah, I mean, over 40 years of women not being allowed to play baseball, and when Rhea Butcher posted that thing about they tweeted the other day about this player named something Osuna. He just got traded to the Astros, and he was arrested earlier this season and suspended for, and I believe he's actually still serving the suspension while he was traded for domestic violence. And the MLB sucks at disciplining domestic violence, like really fucking bad. You only get suspended for like 30 games or something. And Rhea Butcher had this amazing tweet that was like, you can hit a woman and play baseball, but you can't be a woman and play baseball.
Oh my god, I love that.
I know, it was like, holy
shit,
fucking mic drop. That was so good.
Yeah.
And they also tweeted a video about the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, which you should watch that video they posted because it's fascinating. It's really short, and it's really cool because like I had no idea this existed, but it was really popular, and it happened. It kind of came out of World War II when a lot of men in the minor leagues were getting drafted. A lot of professional sports players in general, like Ted Williams, lost like 4 years because he got drafted into World War II. Oh. And so a lot of minor league teams in like some of the smaller market cities were leaving and losing a ton of players, but women weren't getting drafted, and women were playing baseball too. And so the guy who owned the Cubs, Wrigley of Wrigley Gum and Wrigley Stadium, started the All-American Professional Girls Baseball League, and it was like really popular and grew really quickly, and it had like over 1 million people go to the games over the course of the summer, and they played like 110 game seasons. Like it was legit. And then and like kind of like on track to baseball becoming integrated. And then in 1952 they banned women from playing professional baseball in any capacity. In 1954, the All-American Professional Girls Baseball League needs a better name than that. Really mouthful, but
Hannah, you're the acronym
applicable
wizard.
In 1954, it disbanded and went out of business, which is like really sad. And I just like, and now women for some reason have just like been forced to play softball. And like, as Rhea Butcher says often during their podcast, there's nothing wrong with softball. I have nothing against softball. It's just I don't want to be forced to play softball just because I'm a woman.
Right.
Yep. You know, like I want to have the choice. And I want men to have the choice too. Like if men want to play softball, they should be able to, like boys should be able to play softball if they want to. Because it's a different sport.
Yeah.
Underage children of all genders should be able to play softball and baseball.
But
yeah, it's like a totally different pitching style. Like it's not the same sport.
Anyway,
it's literally not.
I got really off track with that, but that's fine. I was going to say one of the reasons I was immediately hooked by this podcast because Rhea Butcher, like at the very beginning, talks about like why they love baseball and why they're a baseball fan. And one of the first things that they say is that like people often ask them when they first started, like when they became a baseball fan. And they said that it was the same time they realized they were gay, which is like basically when they realized they were a person at like 4 years old, like when they were aware of themselves. And so I thought it was really interesting that Rhea Butcher is a person whose identity, like the two biggest parts of their identity are like being a lesbian and activist and being a baseball fan. Like those are kind of their core elements, it seems like. And it's really interesting to see them not struggle, but like have to grapple with the fact that baseball is, only men can play it. It's becoming more white than it used to because like, they were actually talking about this in like the third episode or the second episode, because, instead of like scouts going to like high schools and colleges, there are these kind of things where like basically like players that can kind of come to these like conference type things that like, you know, big tournaments where like AAU is like a baseball league for kids, but it like costs a bunch of money to get into, and it's like you play like better players, like it's higher level baseball, but it costs money. And baseball as a sport, as compared to like basketball, you need a ball and shoes and a court, and you can play basketball, right? Baseball, you need a bat, you need cleats, you need a glove, you need like maybe multiple bats. You need batting gloves. You maybe need like a helmet. Like it costs more. And you can't just like, if you want to practice, like you need to maybe go to a batting cage, or you need to pay a bunch of money to be a part of a big league. Like it's the access is much more limited than other sports, which is part of why you see like LeBron James never could have, speaking of LeBron James never could have like gotten into baseball because he grew up poor in Akron, Ohio. Like but he could play basketball because the level, the barrier for access is much lower for that sport in general, which is why baseball, as like the wealth gap is getting bigger, baseball is also becoming whiter, like noticeably whiter.
Oh, God.
Like the other day I was watching the Red Sox play like the Athletics, and I was like, their whole fucking team is white. It was weird because like I remember when I watched baseball as a kid, all the players were like from the Dominican Republic or like black, basically. There were like, I felt like there were very few white players for some reason. Actually, that's not true. There were a lot of white players still then, but it was like mostly felt like it was like Hispanic players, and that's not really as much the case anymore, which is interesting and fucked up. But anyway, I really like the perspective of someone who is not a straight white dude, but still loves baseball and loves a sport that's dominated by straight white dudes and has to kind of figure out how to do that and still support their own community. And Rhea Butcher does it so well and is like constantly talking about kind of how to do that and how they do that. And they grew up a fan of the Cleveland baseball team, which I'll say the name of once because it's offensive. They're the Cleveland Indians, and their logo is awful. It's like a caricature of an Indian man, and his name is Chief Wahoo. It's ridiculous. But they talk about how the team name should change, and like people get so attached to the name because they have these memories of like watching the baseball team play as a kid. And Rhea Butcher's like, I have those memories too, but like I'm not I don't have memories of the name. I'm not attached to the name. I'm attached to the city, and I'm attached to the team. Like, I'll remember the team. I don't need the name to remember the team. It's like the same thing with Confederate statues. Oh, that's not exactly the same, but like I don't need the statue there to remember the history of the Confederacy. I don't need to celebrate it to remember it. And so they have this whole segment in the first episode where they talk about the Cleveland baseball team and why the name should change. And they are phasing out the logo, the Chief Wahoo logo. They a couple of years ago, they introduced this like block red C that they use more often now. And they've said that I think by like 2020, they're going to phase out Chief Wahoo completely, which is like a step, but they need to change the name. Like,
that's a long time from now.
Yeah. Like, and the fucking, it's stupid. It's fucking stupid. Rhea Butcher thinks they should name themselves like the Cleveland Clevelanders or something. Like just go hard on being Cleveland. Let's see. What else do I like about it? So it's usually like the format is like I've never listened to a podcast that's like one person for like at least half of it, like just one person kind of talking off the cuff. And I'm always amazed. Like, it's not like scripted or anything. And Rhea Butcher is like very well spoken, but they also do this thing that I so relate with where like if they misspeak at all, like instead of kind of correcting it, they'll just be like, "You understand." Like, and I do that all the time. Like, if I just like can't say something right, I'm just like, "No, you get it. Like, you understand. You get what I'm saying." They also say bonkers a lot, which I like. And then like usually the second half or so of the episode is an interview with someone else who loves baseball. The first episode was Josh Gondelman, who's a comedian and he's a writer on Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. And he's a Patriots fan, and he was talking about how he deals with like supporting a team where both like the star quarterback and the coach and the owner are all Trump supporters.
Oh yeah.
And like have endorsed Trump. And what he did, he like started this hashtag with his friend. I forget the name of it, but basically what it amounts to is he kind of dealt with it and like offset it a little bit by every time the Patriots scored during the Super Bowl, he like donated to a charity like the ACLU or like the I forgot the name of it. It's like the Immigrant Defense Action League or something like that, to like offset the bad that the Patriots are doing by supporting Trump, which is like a nice idea. And they also, I recommend listening to the episode because like there's a lot more to that discussion of like kind of, and Rhea Butcher had the perspective of like being a Cleveland baseball fan and having to deal with that later on when you like become aware of how problematic it is and like ways you kind of deal with still being a fan of the team and of the sport while not necessarily being a fan of the people running the sport. Or not being a fan is a light way of saying it. Like really disliking and disagreeing with people that run it. And also, it's just so nice to hear baseball from a different perspective. Like I mentioned SB Nation last week, and I still really like those videos, but like all the people producing that are pretty much like straight white dudes. And like it's interesting stuff, but it's just nice to hear from someone who is acutely aware of the problems because they're a person who's had to deal with the like results of them throughout their life, you know? So that there's just like, it's just so nice to hear about that perspective. And it's not even necessarily like, but still hear someone talk very knowledgeably about baseball, but like constantly have this like awareness of the world around baseball. Whereas, like, I feel like there's this tendency with sports, especially for people to kind of talk about them like they're in isolation from the rest of the world. Right. And I actually tweeted about this with the Osuna thing, because the thing that Rhea Butcher was tweeting about specifically was that Justin Verlander is a pitcher on the Astros, and he's been very outspokenly against domestic violence, as everyone should be, obviously. And to the point where, like, earlier this season, when this guy who just got traded to the Astros got arrested, and suspended or whatever, Justin Verlander tweeted, like, you know, good, this is what you deserve. I hope you shouldn't be playing baseball, basically. And, like, now that it's 2/3 of the way through the season and the Astros are, like, in playoff contention and they traded this guy, all of a sudden Justin Verlander's like, you know, we don't know all the details of what happened. Like, there's literally like security camera footage of him hitting his wife, and it's like, or his girlfriend or whatever, and it's like, well, we don't know the whole story. It's like, I don't fucking need the whole story. Like, he hit her. I don't care. And you didn't either until all of a sudden it mattered to help you win. And I tweeted about how people, you know, romanticize the 2016 World Series because the Cubs won for the first time in over 100 years. And it was like a big deal, and everyone was like, man, like it was like a nice baseball story. Then people leave out this part where one of the most important parts was their closer, Aroldis Chapman, who is now in the Yankees, who was arrested earlier that year and served a suspension earlier in that season for beating his girlfriend and firing 8 gunshots as part of the incident. And all he did was get suspended for that. And like I mentioned,
for how many weeks even if he was back in?
I think it was like 75 games or something. Like it was about half the season, but like he was back by the World Series and was an important part of the National League Division Series, the National League Championship Series, and the World Series. He got the win in Game 7 of the World Series. He was the winning pitcher in Game 7. Like, and I tweeted about how like I forgot about that too, because now he's on the Yankees, and as a Red Sox fan, all I was thinking about was, man, it's really annoying when Aroldis Chapman pitches in the 9th inning because he's really good and throws really hard. Like it had left my mind because there's this. I'm so entrenched in this idea of like, you know, the sports exist outside of the people playing it somehow. You know,
that's like a thing that reminds me of like what Hannah Gadsby brings up in Nanette, it's like
Yes.
the reputation of the man is paramount to anything else.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. I like it until I started listening to Three Swings. It just helped me put the sport back into perspective of the real world happening around it,
Yeah.
which was really nice because Rhea Butcher never lets that get too far out of sight. Like they'll go on this like long not rant, I shouldn't say rant. It's like long talk about something to do with baseball, like a free agency or like something that happened last season, and then like always kind of bring it back to what's happened, like something happening relevant in the real world related to this. Like never lets it be in complete isolation, which I really, really like. And their guest on the second show was Greg Proops.
Greg
Proops.
Proops.
Which great name. Also great on Whose Line Is It Anyway? He's a huge baseball
guy.
fan.
Yeah.
Guy.
He just like he talks so like old. I don't know. You know, like sometimes like old men
old-timey.
will like say like he calls people cat.
Yeah.
Like this cat that we were hanging out with. Like he'll say, and he like always calls the World Series the dance, which is like a thing that like
He's
So old timey
eccentric.
baseball.
He's very
like an old timey
eccentric.
baseball talk, which it's just
Do you think
endearing.
he's a time traveler?
Yeah,
Maybe.
probably.
Yeah.
Could be. We don't have any proofs.
That's awesome,
basically
Ben.
it. Yeah, I'm gonna listen to more.
How much? So you
Obviously.
started from the first episode?
Yeah, and I'm really excited to like catch up so that I can be like hearing about, because I also like I only watch the Red Sox. I don't like to like pay attention that much to other teams, like other news. So I'm actually kind of excited to have a way to do that. That's not
Yeah.
just like reading ESPN or
Right.
whatever.
Or listening to just so many men talk?
Yeah, exactly.
Aaron, what
I
were you
have
going to say?
I have an administrative question about you starting on the first episode, Benjamin.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if I look at Three Swings on Spotify, I see.
Yeah, I know what your
if
question is.
If I scroll
Same
down, I
question.
see that it turns into, like, in the beginning, likely mad as hell.
Yeah,
Did you start there, or did you start at Three Swings?
I started at Three Swings.
Cool.
I don't really. I just.
I wonder if it's the same podcast, but they just changed the
I
name.
think what it is that after the 2017 World Series, when the Dodgers lost, Rhea Butcher started. Was that playing?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I fat fingered it.
Rhea Butcher started, like basically like a baseball spoken diary to talk about how upset they were about the 2017 World Series.
Oh
God, because
Cool.
that's another fucking thing. During that World Series was when I think I mentioned this when it was happening. There's a player on the Astros named Yuli Gurriel who either like hit a home run or struck out or something against this pitcher named Yu Darvish on the Dodgers, who's Asian. I think he's either Taiwanese or Japanese. I don't remember. But and then like made like slanty eyes at him from the dugout.
God.
And got suspended for the beginning of the next season, but not for the rest of the World Series, and then was very important to the Astros winning.
Wow.
Jesus Christ.
So like, and Rhea Butcher was very mad about that too, obviously. And I think just upset about, because the Dodgers were like really good that season. It kind of seemed like they were going to do it. And then they lost it. It went to 7 games and they lost it. And I think that, and Rhea Butcher in the first episode said that, like, their friends before have said, you should start a baseball podcast because they love talking about baseball so much. So I think it just kind of went from, that was like how it started with Likely Mad as Hell, just like venting a little bit, and then kind of turned into like, I should do this as a weekly thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
I listened to the most recent episode, after we last talked last week, and I was like totally blown away by Rhea Butcher's just like breadth and depth of knowledge on all things going on with baseball. I was like, they watch baseball games while they're recording.
Really?
Well, this one they were. Yeah.
That's funny. It's just good. Even if
That sounds great.
I would say that the first half is like very much only about baseball all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's definitely like Rhea Butcher loves baseball. Like if you, it's like really very much people who love baseball. But I think that people who don't love baseball can also enjoy it. At least like the interview parts, definitely. I would say. Would you agree, Hannah, based on listening to an episode?
Well, I didn't finish it yet.
Mm-hmm. But did you find that like the first half was at all inaccessible to you?
No, I liked listening to it.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, and I only know stuff about the Red Sox, and even then, not a ton. But yeah. But we should move on. You're very passionate about this, Ben.
Yeah, it's really good.
Appreciate that.
That's what the format is, you frick.
I totally know, but it's like we're almost at 50 minutes, so I just think we should get on to the second obsession is all.
Yeah, I really monopolized this episode.
Hannah's got to wake up early is the only thing going on.
It was pretty amazing how well we accidentally utilized our space on Libsyn last month.
Yeah.
That was totally an accident. Could have, if I had edited just a little bit less out of the last episode, we would have not been able to post it. That would have been super annoying, but fun coincidence. Anyway, great obsession, Ben.
Good one, Ben.
I'll listen to more of it.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm gonna try to catch it too.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Okay, mine is pretty quick, actually. I'm not just saying that.
After you've hurried Ben along.
I want to talk about. Okay, well, let me tell you the truth. What I've really been obsessed with is the new the third part of Terrace House Opening New Doors came out yesterday, but I finished it already and I've already started rewatching it. It's just so good. It's just so good, but I can't talk about it because I don't want any spoilers, because everyone should just watch it and then fucking talk to me because it's such a good show. It's just good. It just makes your heart laugh and sing. And
please see a doctor.
So instead, there's this other thing that's been rattling around in my head for a while.
Rattling.
That I thought I would bring, which is, I guess it's like sort of a life outlook, sort of a philosophy of life called humanism. Excuse me. I have to get all my burps up before I get intellectual. Okay. So, are you guys familiar with what humanism is?
You've breezed over it at one point on the pod before.
Why don't you run through it?
But run through it. Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
That is all to say, no, I don't remember.
Okay, so I was looking up definitions earlier today, and I found one that I liked, and I screenshotted it, so I'm going to read it to you. This is from the Humanist Society of Western New York. Humanism is a joyous alternative to religions that believe in a supernatural God and life in a hereafter. Humanists believe that this is the only life of which we have certain knowledge, and that we owe it to ourselves and others to make it the best life possible for ourselves and all with whom we share this fragile planet. A belief that when people are free to think for themselves, using reason and knowledge as their tools, they are best able to solve this world's problems. An appreciation of the art, literature, music, and crafts that are our heritage from the past, and of the creativity that, if nourished, can continuously enrich our lives. Humanism is, in sum, a philosophy of those in love with life. Humanists take responsibility for their own lives and relish the adventure of being part of new discoveries, seeking new knowledge, exploring new options. Instead of finding solace in prefabricated answers to the great questions of life, humanists enjoy the open-endedness of a quest and the freedom of discovery that this entails. So it's like, the way I think of it is like, if you describe yourself as a humanist, you're kind of saying like, I believe in the potential. Like there's I think its relationship to religion and like secularism and atheism has kind of evolved over the years. But at its heart, what I like to think of it as is like believing in the sort of potential of every person to contribute to society and to make other people's lives better and to make their own life better, and just like that every person has value and every person can teach you something, which is, I think, sort of, it's one of those things that I remember as being like, and I know this is maybe the part I've talked about before on the podcast, is that like I think it's a very core part of my like outlook on life that fits nicely into humanism, is that like I just for as long as I can remember thinking about people this way, I've been like really fascinated with the idea that every person that you ever meet can change the course of your life in one way or another, and every person that you ever interact with can teach you something that you can like use later on in your life. And like that means that like at a really kind of like deep down sort of like, or maybe like a big like grand scheme of things sort of level, any interaction that you ever have throughout your entire life can like change you as a person. Like ultimately it's kind of like the butterfly effect, but on your personality and your life, sort of. Like, I don't know. It's just like, I just think that's really interesting. And I think it kind of like, it can feel kind of oppressive to like take it as a core tenet that like any interaction can be like so important. But it also like, I think it also like has been a big help for me in when I meet new people or when I'm experiencing new cultures, to like remember that core part of my philosophy and allow my mind to sort of be open to the idea that like the way that I've learned to do things is just that, and it's not like better than the way that anybody else does things. And I think you can learn a ton from that. It's like the other thing I've been thinking about a lot lately is like with our family and with like a lot of the people around me in my life, like I found myself thinking the other day, like, I can't believe how lucky I am to have all of these like smart, funny, like interesting people around me. And then I was like, maybe I'm not actually lucky. Like maybe that's just like the majority of people are actually very smart and funny and talented in their own ways if you get to know them well enough. And like that to me is as inspiring, if not more, than feeling like I'm lucky because I know like a large percentage of people who are, smart and funny and talented.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the kind of like, so that sort of to me also fits into sort of the humanist outlook where it's like, it's not just about like, this is the only life we have. And it's not just about like, they do have like a lot of humanist organizations do a lot of stuff that we would definitely agree with on a political level, like working to keep church and state separate, and like, working for to slow down climate change, and like lots of things that you would expect from a science focused sort of organization. But the main draw, I think, for me is it's sort of like a strong anti-reaction that I have to people who are like so convinced that this is just like this dog-eat-dog world, or that some people are just inherently better than others. Like that is like so anathema to me, and it's just nice to know that there is a somewhat organized group of people out there who also, think the way that I think about the world, and kind of like don't think that, it's just like at its heart, kind of a place where it pays to be evil.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been thinking a lot about that.
Big sigh.
Go humanists.
Yeah. So I wanted to mention
that sounds legit. How did you find out about humanists?
I think
that sounds like something that like I feel, but I wouldn't have ever assumed that was like a like a statement of beliefs or whatever. Formally,
I think it was maybe in like some time during my anthropology classes that the concept came up. I'm not really sure, but ever since
I've heard of it.
Yeah, I mean, ever since I've known about it, I've been like, yeah, all of this makes complete sense to me. But it's weird because it's just kind of like a philosophy. But they do have some. So the website that I was on was, which I'm thinking about donating to once I vet a little bit more, is the American Humanist Association. They have like a pretty good website. Like and they seem to have like, you know, some sort of lobbying stuff too. So, and they give out awards. They have like Humanist of the Year awards that people like Kurt Vonnegut and Isaac Asimov have won in the past. And there's quotes actually from them too. Kurt Vonnegut, I am a humanist, which means in part that I have tried to behave decently without rewards or punishment after I'm dead. That's Kurt Vonnegut. Isaac Asimov, I think in partly the way that it's right now viewed is kind of like in reaction to the way that atheists are viewed in our society right now as like people who just are mean and just like, oh, if you're an atheist, you must think that the world is just a piece of shit. Mm-hmm. And humanism now in modern times is sort of like has turned into like, no, we just like, we still want to do good stuff even without a God. But I think it's also compatible with religious outlooks too, really. Like at its heart, I don't think it's about the fact that there's no God. I think I happen to agree with that right now in my life, but like I don't think that needs to be a part of it for it to be like a meaningful part of your life philosophy, you know?
That is nice, because one of the things that I like in general, I also don't really think there's a God, and I think there are a lot of problems with a lot of organized religions. But there are like, I've known a lot of religious people in my life and a lot of people who have turned to religion who just like take kind of only the good parts out of it, where like, you know, just like be a good person and like don't do bad things, which is like, for some people, that's like all they get out of like Christianity or whatever is like, you know, Jesus told me to not be a bad person. And like, I don't know. And I think humanism almost feels like, or sounds like it's almost more of a real motivation, because
right.
You can have this thing with Christianity where it's like, be a good person so you go to heaven.
Right.
Like, it's so you have a reward. Right.
It's like so simple that it's hard to communicate clearly, because it's like, it's really just like, no, you should be a good person because other people are also people and they need to live here too. And they deserve, you know, a good life as well. There's an Isaac Asimov quote here too that I was going to read you. Humanists recognize that it is only when people feel free to think for themselves, using reason as their guide, that they are best capable of developing values that succeed in satisfying human needs and serving human interests. You like that guy, so that's why I thought
I do like that guy.
Too. Yeah.
This reminded me when we were talking about that of Unitarian Universalists.
Yeah.
And there is actually a page on the Unitarian Universalist Association about humanist Unitarian Universalists.
Oh, I believe it.
Obviously they're welcome at Unitarian.
Yeah, which I'm also way into. Maybe I'll talk about them some other time, but I'd like to at least go to a service of theirs once. I don't know if I was
thinking about that. Sarah goes to a UU,
which she loves. I know.
Yeah,
I know. She's the one that got me like taking it kind of seriously. But I don't miss organized religion. I just
I think when we have kids, that'll probably, I assume that'll change. But same. Still a little wiggy about it. In fact,
wiggy.
So
that's mine. I just like, it's cool. You should check it out. Maybe I'll donate to AHA. Sometime.
You're like a savant.
GeeBeeBeeBo.
GeeBeeBeeBo.
So go ahead, Erin. It's your turn, Erin.
What did Ben say?
Agpable. The All-American Girls Professional Baseball League.
Oh, yeah. Applicable.
Agpable.
Girls.
All-American.
Oh, I switched the girls and the professional.
What is it? All-American.
Girls Professional Baseball League.
Agpable.
Agable.
there's really nothing else to be done with it.
There's nothing there.
Apple.
They need to rename it.
Apple.
Apple.
Yeah, just skip some letters.
Apple. Really want to play for Apple someday.
How about we just call it MLB? Am I right?
Hey!
Move.
I like where you're going with that, Ben. Me now? Welcome to me now?
Welcome to Erin now.
Well, I have a oldie but a goodie here. Well, okay, so it was maybe going to be, I was torn between a few things this week. It was maybe going to be Orange is the New Black. Season 6 is out. Are you guys watching? Are you guys watchers of that show?
Never watched it.
I'm way behind.
Okay. Well, it's a good show. But we haven't watched that much. Well, we watched a lot the first night. As Molly said, we started off with casual 4 episodes one night, night, and then just one last night. But it's not going to be that. But then last night I was thinking I've had 2 songs that I've been absolutely obsessed with. And but I think instead of having those 2 songs be my obsession, I'm gonna have one of the bands be my obsession, and then do an honorable mention to the other song.
Oh shit! I had an honorable mention.
Oh, do your honorable
never mind.
mention.
I did
Fuck,
it.
I did too, but I forgot what it was.
I did it. It was
Fuck, you
Tara's house.
guys.
I did it. I
Gotta
just
get
recalled
on
that.
your shit.
I did it. Okay, go ahead.
Well, if you remember, don't hesitate. Just pop right in with it. Don't even preface it. Just say it. So the song that I don't know what sparked this. So the band is the Indigo Girls, an oldie but a goodie. Obviously not
Hope
a new
the
band.
High Road, Jason Isbell in the 400 unit.
What's that?
It's the song that Rhea Butcher uses as like the intro music for 3 Swings.
That
and
was
it
the
is really good.
honorable mention.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Hannah. Weren't you paying attention to his instructions?
I followed instructions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The Indigo Girls.
That's it.
The Indigo Girls. Not a new band. They've been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Long time.
Yeah.
But I love them. And, you know, here's what I'll say. So, they're really great. They're both, obviously the Indigo Girls is comprised of 2 members, and they're both incredibly talented songwriters. Like, on their own, like, as individuals, they each write, their main style is that they'll each write a song, and then their albums will be comprised of songs that they each have written instead of, like, co-writing songs.
Mm-hmm.
So that really brings a diversity of songs to their albums over time, because they're both like 2 individual people who are very different from each other, who are interested in different things and leading different lives, who are writing songs from their point of view, from their different points of view, and then coming together and putting them on albums. And in addition to that, they both have really beautiful voices in really different ways. And when they harmonize with each other, it's absolutely stunning. And it's Emily and Amy. Emily has the kind of a higher pitched voice.
Emily.
And her songwriting tends to be a little more like, I don't know how to, like, I won't go into that, like, intellectual, and then Amy's is kind of more, I don't know how to describe it, but but they're just great. And over time, like, I find their songs to be timeless and really have a lot of depth to them in the quality that songs do sometimes, where you won't necessarily click with it the first time, but, you know, as you hear it more and more, it grows on you and you connect with it more to form that, like, longer connection with the song.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that is about songs, but anyway, so I was listening to, I guess it came up. So I can be a little gun shy about admitting that I like the Indigo Girls. and I'll probably attribute that to some sort of internalized homophobia, but it kind of came up for me the other day when, I don't know, I was at this, like, weird lunch that we won't get into, but it was basically, like, somebody asked me to, like, describe the kind of music that I like to write. And I was like, I wanted to say, and I almost said, oh, it's like singer-songwriter-y, like kind of the style of the Indigo Girls is what I wanted to say. But I felt like ashamed to say that, like in the setting. And then I didn't. And then I found out that one of the guys at that lunch, his favorite band is the Indigo Girls. Like I found that out later, and I was just like, I don't know, I just felt like like called out on myself for like not kind of owning that quality about myself, but also just really, I don't know, I found that refreshing. But for good reason. They're a great band. They've been around for a long time. Their first album was, they've been around for, I think, as long as I've been alive. Like, I think they're at least a 30-year-old band. And still producing really, their first album was 1987. Like,
they're older than you.
They're older than me. No, Rarities is from 1986. They're fucking older than me. So I was listening to the Indigo Girls because I was like reminded through that conversation of like, fuck yeah, and there's so much there that I haven't listened to, and they came recently to Durham, which I didn't know about till after it happened, which is a bummer. But I was listening to them and the Essential Indigo Girls album 2013, and heard a song I hadn't heard before that I'm absolutely obsessed with. It's called Welcome Me, which I thought was funny because we have that Welcome to Me now joke. But just a really fucking awesome song. Just like has been stuck in my head. Can't get enough of it. Been listening to it over and over again. But they also have an album, a live album with the University of Colorado Symphony that was released just at the end of June this year.
Oh.
So they're still touring. Still killing it, like, still putting out albums. Fucking awesome. Great band. Just beautiful music. The honorable mention song, not by the Indigo Girls. Any questions about the Indigo Girls before I move on?
So good band or great band?
Why don't we ask for questions at the end of our sessions?
Great band.
Erin?
Hey, sorry you guys first for a second. There we are.
There you are. Huh?
I thought this Wi-Fi was better.
Yeah, well, it is. What happened while I was gone?
I asked good band or great band. That was my follow-up.
Great band.
Okay.
And I said great band.
Okay, good. You know, this reminded me, this is not about the Indigo Girls, but another thing I meant to mention before was that as I've been listening to back episodes, it was reminding me how obsessed we were at one point with Janelle Monáe, which has prompted me to go back and listen to Dirty Computer again. Guess what, you guys? It's still fucking outstanding. Yeah. It's so good. Just wanted to
Janelle Monáe is an artist.
Janelle Monáe is an artist. B. Steadwell's an artist.
B. Steadwell. Holy shit, I was jamming on some B. Steadwell today. Jesus Christ. Holy God.
Yeah, still deeply enjoying B. Steadwell, and now, again.
If you haven't yet, listeners, give B. Steadwell some of your money. I've just been...
You don't even have to listen to her. Just trust us. She deserves it.
She has a PayPal. Set up a monthly situation. Look. I'm not saying that I did. I might have. But look, just throw her some money. Okay. Honorable mention song that I've also been somewhat obsessed with. It's called Midnight Oil, and it's by Holly Miranda. Great song. Haven't listened to her other stuff. I tried to, and I was like, not immediately into it. But who knows? But that's a great song too. So Welcome Me, Indigo Girls. That's off of one of her albums. Like that song I can say literally, where has it been all my life? Mm-hmm. It was recorded in
1887.
The other cool thing about the Indigo Girls are they're time travelers. So that's really neat.
They came here with correct proofs.
Different objectives. One likes to talk about baseball and do improv comedy.
For some reason, that joke was even better because you wanted to say it so bad you just said it through your coughing.
Well, she knows the window, the brown joke window, is very narrow.
We will stampede.
Moving on. But that was recorded in 1989. So it was probably written the year I was born. So I'm
About
like,
you, probably.
Probably.
one of the lyrics is, it's just like such
Happy
a good
birthday,
song.
Erin.
You really buried the lead there.
It's about me. Amy raised
They're my
mom.
stepmothers. Or, I mean, godmothers.
They're my moms. That is a shout out to my moms. Amy and Emily. I'm not even going to say it, and I can't top it. Anywho. Great song. I just love it. Oh, I wish I could just play it on pod. Anyway.
I was thinking about that the other day. I wish we had some way, because like on the REM podcast I listened to, they like go through albums song by song and like listen to little tidbits of them. I wish we had a way of doing that with our setup, because it would be cool if we could do that.
There was a. What did you just say?
Cool if we could do that.
Do that.
I was looking. There was an article I was about to read the other day about like.
What's with your family?
Go on.
What?
Do you guys like not know how to read? Like you and Lucas. You're like, God, I would love to read that. Oh well.
Oh my god, that looks so good. That's too bad.
If only there were a way. If only Audible did blog posts.
It was about like the rules about music and podcasts, and I was going to read it because I've also noticed that on Wonderful they play clips of songs.
I think there's a condition where you can. Why don't you find that out?
If you're critiquing it, you can.
Yeah, well, if you're,
That's,
like,
I think that's like the
talking
main
about
thing is you have to be like, you can't just be like listening to it. You have to be like actively
talking
about it in a critical sense, which can be positive or negative, obviously.
Hannah, if you find out that you can play a snippet, then you can send me the final edit and I'll insert a clip right here.
But
that was a good clip.
Beautiful.
I want to be able to like listen to it together and react to it live. That's what I really want. I know that's not really.
We could always play it and then overlay it because Hannah does that every week with So Dreamy.
Oh,
shit.
Well, Hannah, Rachel's not fucking here. Is she?
Rachel.
Hannah's looking around frantically for Rachel. Oh my god, she was just here. She's caught in the fly tape.
I got flies.
Hannah's got a slip of fly. Straight.
Did you say I got flies?
I got flies.
I've got flies.
Hannah's got a strip of fly tape hanging out, swinging in the breeze in the background.
Can I hop on to your honorable shout out of a song and mention that one of the lyrics I really like in this song also is I've heard enough of the white man's blues. I've sang enough about myself. So if you're looking for some bad news, you can find it somewhere else. I was like, man, that is self-aware and I like it.
Dude.
And I think that's probably why Rhea Butcher, part of the reason Rhea Butcher likes it too. And uses it for their podcast.
Boom.
That's
All
it.
right, I'll find out. I'll read this thing. I have it up now.
Yeah, find out.
Okay.
Do we have any lawyers in the family?
Yes.
Yes, we do. We have an aunt who's a lawyer.
Oh, yeah. Shout out, Aunt Connie.
Not that kind of lawyer, though, but, she might know some
What,
stuff.
a law lawyer?
She's the kind of lawyer so far in the fact that she has a law degree.
I'm just saying she's not a copyright lawyer, but that's...
You're not a copyright lawyer.
Yeah, your mom's not a copyright lawyer.
Also true. All right, homework. Ben.
Good night.
That's it.
Yep. Have a good night.
My
homework...
podcast candle is now extinguished.
No, well, it actually did go out, but...
Wow!
Hannah! This
podcast
is illegitimate.
It's got one... Oh, nope, it just went all the way out. Yeah, it just ran out of wax.
Wow. Fuck. I don't feel like I should even give homework now.
You have to.
Do you have
But I will.
another one?
Not in here.
My homework is to listen to 3 Swings. It's on Spotify. It's where I listen to it. I think it's like everywhere you can get podcasts. You know.
Yeah.
Chow.
You're listening to one now, so figure it out.
Yeah, you fucking idiot. My Twitter is at AnyDiscoGreg. Go there for pictures of my cat, for a thread about domestic violence in the MLB, other stuff, political stuff sometimes, you know, the standard. It's so good. Twitter, AnyDiscoGreg. Forgot if I said it, I'll say it again, AnyDiscoGreg.
Erin. No, me.
Nope.
Me.
Wrong.
My homework is go check out the website, American Humanist Association, which is americanhumanist.org. I'll link to it in the thing. Or just like look at the Wikipedia page. It's just like interesting. It's not like a big deal. It's not like a cult. It's just like a nice outlook on the world.
You're a cult.
You're a cult.
Your mom's a cult.
Your mom's a lawyer.
No.
Your aunt's a lawyer.
Yeah. Erin.
Burn.
I love this microphone is a mute button. I just ate all my cherries and it
Oh,
was
I know, I
great.
love that.
Silently. I just munched away. I just nommed and nommed. It was awesome.
We didn't even notice.
But then I said something and I was still muted.
Oh,
So.
my Twitter is anthropology. Like the study of people with an H at the beginning of it.
You know what bothers me about the mute button is that when you click it, like the first click as you mute it, it doesn't get picked up because it like clicks after the mute happens. But the second one where you unmute does get picked up.
Yeah, that's annoying.
Yeah. That's small though.
That's small though.
That's small though.
Small clicks.
Erin, what's your homework?
Okay, hello.
Oh.
My homework is to...
Wait. Listen to So Dreamy. So Dreamy Smash.
Wow, Hannah sucks.
Have you ever given homework before?
We talk about
47
dreams, sleep talking
times.
stories. It's fun.
Boo.
Go, Erin.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello. My homework is to check out the Indigo Girls. They're this new band. And they're time traveling lesbians. Are awesome. They're really great singer-songwriters. If you've heard that song, that one song, but listen to it again. Listen to a few others. Check out their albums. It's great singing and songwriting. Good stuff. Okay. Honorable mention, Midnight Oil by... Oh, I've blocked my phone.
Heather Miranda?
Holly Miranda.
Oh, I was so close.
You were close. Thank you.
Welcome Me.
Welcome Me is the Indigo Girls song. So good. Okay, my Twitter's at Erin Byrne. I review lesbian movies and at LesbianMovieReviews on Instagram. I really wanted to do one this weekend, but I didn't. And that's all.
Cool story.
I think.
Okay. If you...
WayTooBroad.com.
Yeah, if you want to follow us on our social medias, if you want to email us, if you want to go find a link to our iTunes so you can leave us a review, if you want to leave us a review on Podknife, if you want to figure out
Support
what we
us.
talked about before. If you want to support us on Ko-Fi, you can
I
go.
thought you said deport us.
Support us. No. I'd never make that joke.
You can go to WayTooBroad.com. You can find links to do all of those things.
If you want to impeach Trump, please do.
Yeah. That's
If
not
you're a member
lawyer.
of Congress,
There's
do
no
that.
there's no link for that on our website, but it should get
There
done.
should be.
Yeah. And yeah, that's it. Please leave us a review. We'll be so happy, excited to hear from.
We'll be happy.
We'll be happy, excited to hear from you. And don't forget to watch GeeBeeBeeBo. We love you. And the podcast candle would be extinguished right now if it hadn't already.
We love you. Bye.
Bye.
Enjoy those sound clips. Okay, bye.